we start from the beginning?
Yes, Rangada. I think we'll not go in details, but
that means we have to read from page 730.
Yes.
The evolutionary process, ascent and integration.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Ascent we starting one by one.
I'll start.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yes, Rangada. You can just read it once.
Yeah.
I will read it slowly. The evolutionary process, ascent and integration. As he mounts from peak to peak, Indra makes him conscious of that goal of his movement. Rigved. A son of the two mothers, he attains to kingship in his discoveries of knowledge. He moves on the summit. He dwells in his high foundation. Rigved. I have arisen from earth to the mid-world. I have arisen from the mid-world to heaven. From the level of the firmament of heaven, I have gone to the sun world, the light. Yajurved. It is now possible and necessary, since we have formed a sufficiently clear idea of the significance of the evolutionary manifestation in earth nature and the final turn it is taking or destined to take, to direct a more understanding regard on the principles of the process by which it has arrived at its present level, and by which presumably, with whatever modifications its final development, its passage from a still dominant mental ignorance to a sorry, to a supramental consciousness and an integrated knowledge will be governed and made effective. For we find that cosmic nature is constant in its general law of action, since that depends on a truth of things which is invariable in principle, although in detail of application evidently variable. At the outset, we can easily see that since this is an evolution out of a material inconscience into spiritual consciousness, an evolutionary self-building of spirit on a base of matter, there must be in the process a development of a triple character. An evolution of forms of matter more and more subtly and intricately organized so as to admit the action of a growing, more and more complex and subtle and capable organization of consciousness is the indispensable physical foundation. An upward evolutionary progress of the consciousness itself from grade to higher grade and ascent is the evident spiral line or emerging curve that on this foundation the evolution must describe. Taking up of what has already been evolved into each higher grade as it is reached, a transformation more or less complete so as to admit of a total changed working of the whole being and nature. And integration must be also part of the process if the evolution is to be effective.
Ashanti, you had a lot of reading.
Yeah, I have a cough, Rangada. Sorry.
Okay. So next time we'll avoid until your cough is cured. Okay, I'm reading the summary of what he said here. Alright? And now, Chandra said, now that we know what evolution is and what its final goal, its starting point and its culmination, we may now look closely at its process, its law of development. It starts from inconscience and slowly goes up to the superconscious, but it has not yet gone to superconscious. We are in the middle stage. We have gone up to mind, matter, life and mind. But we have to now go to the next level, which is the supermind, and after that there is Satchit Ananda. So, this evolution has a triple action. First, there is an evolution of physical forms. In other words, matter. Matter can be physical forms. We know that there are any number of elements. When I was in school, we knew that there were 80 elements, 80 or 90. Today we know that there are more than 160, 180. They have discovered more elements. Okay, so first there is the evolution of physical forms. Next, biological evolution and a parallel evolution of consciousness which enters and occupies these forms. So first there is physical forms. Next stage is biological evolution. Life comes in. And then we also see that there is a parallel evolution. Okay, parallel evolution of consciousness. As soon as life comes in, consciousness also is increasing. In matter, there is consciousness, but in the first stage, it does not come out. Only matter is there. But as soon as life comes, consciousness also starts showing itself. That's what's in this. And that is what Darwin has discovered. At this point, we may know that Darwinism only deals with biological forms, and that too not necessarily with teleology. Teleology means that the evolution is going towards a fixed aim and a purpose. But in Darwin's biology, Darwin's theory, there is no end. There is no aim towards which it is going. It's only a mutation of forms, random mutation of forms. So, but Sriaurobido's conception of evolution is that consciousness, more than the biological, is a consciousness which is the main thing. The biological evolution is a necessary corollary, a secondary aspect. This also we can discuss. Unless the physical form is capable of housing a higher consciousness, evolution can't take place. The human body is far superior to a worm or a caterpillar. So, there is a biological evolution which is necessary for the human mental consciousness to come. Both must run parallelly. Okay? That's what he said. It's a very interesting question. Think about it. As the consciousness becomes more and more capable, more powerful and more evolved, the forms it occupies too must become more and more capable of housing these higher grades of consciousness. I'll give you their sequence. For instance, we have microbes first. Okay? They are conscious, but there is no development of these senses and all that. Next comes a worm, then there is an insect, then there is an animal, and then there are higher forms of animals, and then finally you have man. But even before microbe, there are plants. So plant also has consciousness, but at a very, very low level. So there is a growth of consciousness in the evolution. That's what Sri pointed. Secondly, there is an ascent. He said that there are three aspects of evolution. First is that there is a physical forms. Secondly, he is talking now, there is an ascent from lower to higher grades. From less conscious, less capable, to more conscious, more capable. Obviously, we saw the sequence. Plant, microbe, worm, insect, animal. Thirdly, each new grade, as it appears, it transforms a lower grade without rejecting it. This is very interesting. The evolution, how it takes place, is given as the laws. So, when life comes in, it transforms matter. How? It becomes living matter. Living matter is different from a stone. So, it transforms a matter without rejecting it. The higher pulls up the lower and integrates it into its higher level. And now, after the animal, which is a life to matter, life has been put into matter and matter is transformed accordingly. When mind comes in, the matter of our brain has now become capable of thought. Take our muscle. It is matter in which life is there, but it is not capable of thought. So our muscle and our bones are only matter which has been, life has been put into them. But our brain is matter which life has been put into them, but also mind, also the capacity of thought. So they were saying, matter goes on changing as it rises in consciousness. Okay? Matter, when life becomes living matter, plants, insects, animals. When living matter is infused in mind, a higher grade, it becomes mentalized matter. So exactly now the next step will be a matter which will be so subtle and so capable of housing a Superman consciousness. It will be capable of supramental consciousness. The matter will become very subtle. Even, even in the physical world right now, we have three grades of substance. We have matter, which is like ice, solid. Then we have matter, which is like life, living tissue. And we have mental, that is like a cloud, for instance. Cloud is matter, but very subtle. So exactly in the same way, this was going to happen. Okay? Finally, this process must terminate in matter, becoming supramentalized or spiritualized. That has not yet happened, but that was the work that Mother was trying to do, and she took it to a very large level. Very little work was left, but it could not be done because the universal conditions were not ready. So when the universal conditions are ready, the supramental body will appear. And Shiva has promised Mother that he will manifest in the first supramental body. Okay? So now, we can go to the next paragraph. Jasmine, can you read the end of this triple process?
Dada,
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Dada, can I ask a question?
Yes, yes.
Dada, in this case, the matter in the muscle is a living matter,
Yes,
and the matter in the brain is a thinking matter.
that's right.
And is the matter in the muscle is in during the process of the evolution, is it going towards the transformation, becoming a thinking matter?
Yes, that's exactly what's happening. I am talking of muscle and brain, but you take it as matter, as a stone, which is first becoming capable of life, then it is becoming capable of thought, then it will become capable also of housing the supramental consciousness. That's exactly what I said. I use the
Okay, thanks.
example of muscle to make it clear to you that matter can
Thank
be, yeah, very different stages are there. Okay?
I have
Thank
a
you.
query. Then, if the supramental enters the stone, then what happens to the stone? Can the stone move by itself?
The soul will of course be there. In fact, the soul,
No, stone, S-T-O-N-E. Matter.
no, I
Say, I'm talking of stone, S-T-O-N-E, stone.
okay.
So
No, no,
if supramental comes into the stone, will that stone be conscious enough to move about by itself?
Yasmin, you are thinking of stone, but I gave you the example of matter. Okay? Stone is an example of matter, universal matter, which is static. Okay? So I gave you the example of stone to make you understand that matter, universal matter can be static like a stone. Universal matter can become life like an insect or a living creature. And universal matter itself is being transformed into supramental, mentalized and finally supramental. They are only samples. Okay? A stone will remain a stone. A worm will remain a worm. A man will remain a man. A yogi will remain a yogi at his own level with different grades of consciousness. And finally, the supramental will have, as its body, it will have a supramentalized matter.
Okay, merci.
Okay. Go ahead, read the next paragraph.
this triple process must be a radical change of the action of the ignorance into an action of knowledge, of our basis of inconscious into a basis of complete consciousness, a completeness which exists at present only in what is to us the superconscious. Each ascent will bring with it a partial change and modification of the old nature taken up and subjected to a new fundamental principle. The inconscious will be turned into a partial consciousness, and ignorance seeking for more and more knowledge and mastery. But at the same point, there must be an ascent which substitutes the principle of knowledge, of a fundamental true consciousness, the consciousness of the spirit, for the inconscious and ignorant. An evolution in the inconscious is the beginning, and evolution in ignorance is a middle, but the end is the liberation of the spirit into its true consciousness and an evolution in the knowledge. This is actually what we find to be the law and method of the process which has hitherto been followed and by all signs is likely to be followed in a future working by evolutionary nature. A first involuntary foundation in which originates all that has to evolve, an emergence and action of the involved powers in or upon that foundation in an ascending series, and a culminating emergence of the highest power of all as the agent of a supreme manifestation are the necessary stages of the journey of evolutionary nature.
Okay, so that's the second para. Now, I'm reading out to you the summary of the second para. The end of this evolutionary ascent must be the complete transformation of ignorance into knowledge, of inconscience into total consciousness, of incapacity into omnipotence. Each step of the ascent is a grade nearer to the spiritual consummation, nearer to the spiritual perfection. The beginning is the evolution from inconscience. The middle is the evolution in ignorance, like in mind, okay? Man. The final is a liberation of spirit into a total consciousness and knowledge, which will be the supramental race. The process that we see in the lower hemisphere of body, life and mind of already evolved state must also continue into the future, since the law of growth in nature is the same consistent process. This is what I say. Until now we have seen evolution has come up to matter, mind, matter, life and mind. Now it must continue and go further on. Why should we stop here? That's what he's saying. Now it is 25, about 10 minutes or even more, so we can read the third para. Third para, Kiran, Dr. Kiran, from Nashik. Can you read?
Yes, Rangana.
Okay, go ahead. Evolutionary process.
An evolutionary process must be, by the very terms of the problem to be solved, a development in some first established basic principle of being or substance, of something that basic principle holds involved in itself or else admits from outside itself and modifies by the admission, for it must necessarily modify by its own law of nature all that enters into it, and as it not already part of its own nature. This must be so even if it is a creative evolution, in the sense of manifesting always new powers of existence that are not native to the first foundation but introduced into it, accepted into an original substance. If, on the contrary, there is already there in involution present in the first foundation but not yet manifested or not yet organized, the new principle or power of existence that has to be evolved, then when it appears, it will still have to accept modification by the nature and law of the basic substance, but also it will modify that substance by its own power, its own law of nature. If further it is aided by a descent of its own principle already established in its own full force above the field of evolution and pressing down into the field to possess it, then the new power may even establish itself as a dominant element and considerably or radically change the consciousness and action of the world in which it emerges or into which it enters. But its force to modify or change or to revolutionize the law and working of the original substance chosen as the evolutionary matrix will depend upon its own essential potency. It is not likely that it will be able to bring out an entire transformation if it is not itself the original principle of existence. If it is only derivative and instrumental power and not the first puissance.
Yeah. So that's the third para. And in the third para, he is saying something very interesting. He says our evolution is there, but evolution can be of two types. I am not yet reading the summary, but I am just telling you what the principles are. Two types. First of all, matter is purely matter. There is nothing involved in it. Okay? And life is coming into matter and changing it. This is one way. The other way is that in matter itself, life is already there, and in due time and in the right conditions, the life will emerge from matter. So there is one is an external pressure. Life is coming from outside and entering into matter and changing it. This is one. The other one is that life is already there involved in matter, like the tree in the seed. So it is bound to come up if the conditions are right. Okay? So that's the second one. So what is the truth actually? The truth is that both the principles are working in evolution. There is a life plane above matter, and that is pressing upon the matter to evolve. It is pressing from above. And in matter, life also is already there involved, and that is pressing upward. The first one is pressing downward on matter, and the life in matter is pressing upward. And with the effect of these two, evolution takes place. That's what he's saying. Okay? It's interesting. He's making very clear. Because the idea of involution is not yet there in science. Science is thinking that life is coming from elsewhere and entering matter. But the idea that life is already there, mind is already there, supermind is already there, the divine is already there in matter, hiding, is not there in science as yet. Okay? So, now I read the summary of 3 and 4 together. Okay. What exactly is evolution and how does it work? An original substance evolves in possible ways. First, powers other than the original substance are already involved in it, and when given the right conditions, they emerge one by one. Example, the seed and the tree. The tree is already there in the seed. You don't see it, but give the right conditions. Give it sunlight, give it water, give it proper soil and nourishment, and the tree will emerge. The hidden superior power emerges and changes the original substance. So, the superior power here in this case is life. It comes out and changes matter. Okay? It changes matter. There is a big difference between living matter and dead matter. Dead matter has got life in it involved, like a tree in the seed. So, but it also gets influenced and limited by the lesser original substance. So when the life is entering into or evolving from matter, both are affected. Life is coming out and changing matter, but matter also with its dead inconscience is also affecting life. That is why the insect is not capable of everything fully. Life principle is restricted and pulled down by the force of matter. Similarly for the mind. That is the reason why there is ignorance in the animal and there is ignorance also in man. But as it keeps going higher and higher, the influence of matter on these things becomes less and less. And the influence of the higher becomes more and more. Okay? The power to transform the lower is not complete if the higher is not the highest. That is the reason why, unless a supermind comes down, it is supermind itself which has the power to completely change matter and its influence. Okay? The second way of evolution could effectuate itself if it is the original substance has no other power inherent in it, but an outside power enters into it and changes it. Here too, the second substance will alter the original, but the extent to which change occurs depends upon the intensity and quality of the second. And if it is not the highest creative power, then its transformative force is limited and it gets itself affected by the lower primary substance. It is like if I have a glass of pink color and I have a glass of green color. If I mix them, both are affecting each other. Okay? But if the pink color is the most powerful, then it will completely reduce the green and everything. When you mix also, it will become only all pink. Okay? That's what's happening. And that pink, with the power to transform altogether lower, is a supermind, not the mind. The mind has not got the power to change matter entirely. But supermind has got the power to change matter entirely. In other words, even death can be abolished when the supermind comes into nature. Okay? I am continuing with the summary. Thus, when life enters into matter, dead matter becomes living matter. But life itself gets limited by the power of death in matter. Matter's main characteristic is death. Okay? Similarly, when mind enters into living matter, its own infinite mental power of knowledge gets restricted by the gravitational pull of the lower and becomes ignorance rather than knowledge. Now this is very interesting because when your mind escapes from the body, it becomes capable of supreme thought. Okay? But when you are identified with your body-mind life and the brain, your thinking capacity is very limited because it's under the influence of life and matter. But when the soul comes out of the body, or the higher mind, when it comes out, its capacity of thought increases like anything. Okay? That's what it is. If this is so, then the powers of life and mind are not the highest creative force. Because we see that the characteristics of matter are still there. Life is there, suffering is there. So it is not, mind has not got the capacity to transform matter entirely. So there must be an even higher, more potent force above life and mind that has yet to manifest in matter. So logically, something must be there higher which will transform the lower and upper. And its appearance here must necessarily be inevitable in the future. So we have seen that there is an evolution from matter to life to mind. Therefore, since matter is not fully transformed, there must be something more than that. And that is supermind. That's what he said. Now, we have got 4 minutes more. So we can read one more time. So that next time we don't need to. So, Sima, if you can read. Yeah. Here the evolution takes place.
Ma. Here the evolution takes place in a material universe, the foundation, the original substance, The first established all conditioning starters of things is matter. Mind and life are evolved in matter, but they are limited and modified in their action by the obligation to use its substance for their instrumentation and by their subjection to the law of material nature, even while they modify what they undergo and use. Third, they do transform its substance first into living substance and then into conscious substance. They succeed in changing its inertia, immobility and inconscience into a movement of consciousness, feeling and life. But they do not succeed in transforming it altogether. They cannot make it altogether alive or altogether conscious. Life nature evolving is bound to death. Mind evolving is materialized as well as vitalized. It finds itself rooted in inconscience, limited by ignorance. It is moved by uncontrolled life forces which drive and use it. It is mechanized by the physical forces on which it has to depend for its own self-expression. This is a sign that neither mind nor life is the original creative power. They, like matter, are intermediaries, successive and serial instruments of the evolutionary process. If material energy is not that original power, then we must seek for it in something above mind or life. There must be a deeper occult reality which has yet to disclose itself in nature.
So this is the fourth para, and I have combined it with the third para. I have done the summary of both. Now we have got the next one is an original creative or evolutionary. This is the fifth para. The next time, I think we have got 8:38 already, so we can stop here today, and next time we'll read from an original creative or evolutionary power. We have to note down. Okay.
Yes, I'll note down. Yeah.
Okay. So, everybody,
Thank you, Rangada. Thank you so much.
Aruma.
Thank you, Dada. Thank you.
Thank you, Rangada.
Thank you, Rangada.
Solomon.
Okay, everyone. Have a nice day.